There we go. Okay, so today we're pretty much just going to go over just a refresher on Terraform and Ansible. But there is something new that I want to kind of bring up to you guys about Terraform. It is called Terraform Provisioners. This will be pretty quick, and these are actually super cool, and I think it'll help you out with the assessment quite a lot. Does someone want to read this paragraph for us, please?
I can read it. Terraform provisioners. Terraform provisioners allow us to define and execute custom scripts or commands on remote resources after they have been created or updated. Provisioners are used to perform tasks such as software installation, configuration, or any other actions required to prepare a resource for use.
Thank you for that, Cassandra. I appreciate it. This is going to be pretty quick. So there's three types of provisioners. There's local exec, remote, and file. The local exec provisioner allows you to run commands in the machine where Terraform is executed. Yes. The remote exec provisioner is used to execute commands on a remote resource, such as a virtual machine or an EC2 instance or SSH. And the file provisioner, you can kind of think of these as like modules, right? They're just modules in Terraform that you can use in like your Terraform resource block. And then the file provisioner is used to copy files directories from local machines to remote resources. Here's a couple examples. These actually aren't, let's see, did Julius update this? I sent him some new code to, okay. These need to get updated. This isn't correct. But that's fine. I'll update it later. So this is somewhat correct. When you have the provisioner file, right, you can give it a source of where you want to copy it from. So, okay, let me take a step back. These provisioners you can put inside a resource block. And then you can, it's pretty much like telling your instance or, yeah, you would pretty much just put these inside like your instance block. And then you can tell it like what to do, right? Like if you wanted to like install Nginx or copy a file on your instance, you can absolutely do that using Terraform. So it's kind of just a little quick way, like if you don't want it to do, like actually type out these commands, you can just write it up in Terraform. If that makes sense. Let me actually pull up a terminal and I kind of show you, let's see. Okay, let me, why is that? Where's my terminal? Anyway, I can just bring up VS Code. That's fine. So if we just jump into some code, let me just close this. So right, here is a Terraform resource, right? Use that to create pretty much any resource you want in Terraform. There's different types, right? There's like data blocks, which fetch existing resources and kind of return them back to you as an object. And then there's like output blocks, which I don't think I have one on here, but you can pretty much just, yeah. And then you give it a, you can pretty much just, it's like a console log or like a print statement. You can print it out in like your Terraform plan. And you can put like value equals and then whatever you want in here. And like, you can output it. Okay. Let's go back. So the provisioner, we're just going to put them in or Amazon instances. And so what happened is, so you do like a provisioner block inside your in your resource. And so for this one, I just want to copy my my secret key, right? My AWS key PAM. I'm just giving it its full file path, and then the destination of where I want to copy that over. All right. That's pretty much what the file provisioner does. You're just copying over a file and placing it where you want it. And so this is an Amazon Linux 2 image. And so the destination I want it to be would be /home EC2 user AWS, you know, and just name it the same, right? Because I want to bring over my secret key over into my master node or my control node, however you want to call it. Let me stop right there. Does anyone have questions on the file provisioner real quick? Or Terraform resources? Great. Okay. So within this provider block, you also have to tell Terraform how are you going to connect to that image. And so you're pretty much always going to use SSH. And so these are the four things that you need to put in here. You're going to do type of SSH. There are different types. And then the user, since we're doing an Amazon Linux 2 image, is going to be the EC2 user. I'm sure you could also specify like a root user or whatever kind of user you want, but for this, we're just keep it at EC2. If you're doing like a boon, if you're doing like an Ubuntu, I'm sorry, someone have a question? No, okay. Yeah, but if you're doing like an Ubuntu image, then that would change, I think, to like home/Ubuntu, right? So you would change your user. Private key, you're just going to give the path to your private key. I just give it the home path and then whatever directory I'm in. In this case, it's Terraform AWS. And then my key's name is AWS key.pem. And then you're going to point the host to itself. So self is an object referring to its resource blocks that it belongs in, and then its attribute of public IP. And that's how you would get this resources or this instance's IP address, which is the host IP. Does that make sense? Or am I like speaking Latin here? I know it can be confusing. Hopefully I'm explaining it okay. Okay. So that's just a copy over file. So you can, so what I'm doing here is I'm copying a file, my secret file, and I'm just putting it on my instance, right? So when we SSH into it, I can do like an ls, and I should be able to see my my secret file, right? So there's kind of a quick little handy way of doing that. So let's go over to the remote exec. This is where it gets pretty cool. So I can, so instead of, you know how in Ansible you can run like a playbook, and you can like install Apache or install Ansible or whatever, do that playbook on those hosts. You can do the same thing in Terraform with the remote exec provisioner, right? All you have to do is just call the provisioner block, give it its name, remote exec, and then you can do these inline as an array or a list. And then you can start giving it any kind of command you want, right? So we're doing sudo and then yum, which is because we're in the Amazon Linux 2 image for this AWS instance, this master node or control node. We're using the yum package manager, right? So we're just doing an update right off the bat and just doing a flag Y to just accept or press yes to any kind of prompt that may come when it runs this command upon starting up this instance. And then since it is the master node, we are using, or I am downloading or installing Ansible on the instance at provisionment, right? And then same as the file, you have to add a connection block right here inside the provisioner. And then it's just the same, and we're just giving it access to, excuse me, we're just giving it access to SSH into the host to do these commands. And so that would be the remote exec. Does that make sense to everyone? Any questions so far?
Like in regular code, in Terraform, are you able to create like say your connection somewhere if you have if you're gonna reuse it so much? Like in this case, it's the exact same thing, right? Could you do that as well, or do you have to explicitly have it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can actually do what's called a locals block. And you can literally put whatever here. So if you wanted to do like name equals, I don't know, Reno, you could do locals, and then all you would have to do is just call like, I don't know, name equal local dot name, right? And then you would access this local block. You could do the same with the connection. You would just do like local dot connection and then just pass it in connection. So if I really wanted to do this whole thing, I would do this and then call this connection. And then I would just pass it in that connection object like that. And then I can just, instead of doing this, actually, I just want to comment that out. And I think I could just do default equals local dot connection. And then that should work just as fine. So it might be local, or it might be default, or it might be value. I think maybe both would work, but if I had to guess, it'd probably be default. But yeah, you can absolutely use that and use like a locals block to do that. Or you could even put it as like a variable. You can change that to variable and then call that connection, right? And then that should work just as fine. And just set that equal to the object, and kind of do the steps to make that accurate. But for now, we'll just keep it easy. So I don't want to throw like too much extra stuff at you guys. So let's just put all that back. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. But yeah, typically you would want to avoid using duplicate code. So I'm happy you asked that, because you would use like a local block typically, or a var, a variable, if these connections are the same. Same as doing all these resources. In like production setting, I would typically go ahead and make like a map, or like a list of all my like different node names. And then I would just do like a for each. You guys went over like for each, right? In like a resource block, to create like multiple resources with only like one block.
Yeah, I think it came up on one of the lectures. I don't think I practiced it, but it was at least brought up.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have to do that. It's kind of I guess more of an advanced thing. But I guess we can cover it real quick. So there's a couple things. There's count, right? And you could set that equal to whatever number, and it would create multiple resources. It would create two, right? You want two Amazon instances. And then, yeah, and so that's how you would create multiple. But you could also create a map, or an object or whatever, and it would iterate through each one of these. So you could do like node 1 and node 2, right? And node 3 or whatever. And you can just, and it'll create an instance. And so that way you're really not like duplicating code. Because a lot of this we're duplicating code, right? Like we're using the same image for all of them. We're using the same instance type and the same key name, and all this other stuff, right? And then you could also do, if you want to get like fancy with it, I use this all the time in Terraform. But if you wanted to do, like if you could do like if statements or conditional statements, if you need something or not. So if let's say if key name, let's say if the key name, let's say we have different like key pairs, right, for each node. And so if we had like a for each, right, and we're being dynamic about our resource blocks, then you can do a conditional statement, be like, is each dot key, is that equal to node 1? And then question mark. If that's true, then it's AWS key. If that's false, then you can do, I don't know, key 2, right? And so, I mean, I'm getting a little off topic here. It's a little bit more advanced stuff. But just know you can write conditionals like this absolutely in, or it would actually be key dot value. But yeah, you can absolutely do stuff like that.
I put a question in the chat, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, is your code out there, or am I missing the boat on that? Because the piece I'm finding for the provisioners is actually very short, and then it concludes with a paragraph that we should limit their use. So, are you going into more depth on this then? Is that, and do
Yeah,
you,
I'm just
okay,
I'm explaining this. The code isn't out there. It kind of is.
ah,
We go back to the lesson. Sorry, I kind of got off a little topic. But I'm just trying
no,
to.
don't be sorry. I like it when all of the instructors do that, because that's how we get more information.
Yeah. Well, this is somewhat right. But you would also it's just missing like the connection block inside the provisioner. And I just
Okay,
had the code to show you that. Also, this is for this. Yeah, it looks like it's EC2 user. Okay, yeah, so it is an Amazon 2 Linux image. But anyways, yeah, so does anyone have any questions on provisioners about file or remote exec or connection? I'll show you how it all works here in a second. But any questions thus far? And I'll also give you guys the code later on so you can kind of go through it. Cool. Well, does someone want to volunteer to read these paragraphs about why we should limit the use of Terraform provisioners? It's pretty important.
don't volunteer all at once, everyone. I can read it again if you want.
Sure.
Okay. Terraform provisioners are handy for specific use cases like bootstrapping instances or performing initial configuration, but it's advisable to minimize their use and consider alternative solutions when possible. Instead, focus on using Terraform for resource provisioning and use dedicated configuration management tools for ongoing resource configuration and management tasks. This separation of concerns can lead to a more maintainable and predictable infrastructure code. When provisioners enable us to execute any command in the future target resource, it involves considerable power and responsibility. It opens up a huge scope for activities that can be performed on the OS and application layer. There is no tracking or accountability for these actions. If, for some reason, the provisioner task fails to run on a few machines, this increases the overhead of identifying them and deploying a workaround.
Yeah, so all good stuff. It is a cool little trick, but typically you will hardly ever use provisioners. It just adds another level of complexity and stuff that you can use in like an Ansible playbook, or you can set up in when you do like a Docker container, like a Docker file, really. So and it can kind of lead to mistakes too. But anyways, so let's actually just go ahead and show you how all this works. So let's pull up my VS Code and let's fire up the terminal. So, okay, so I went over the resource and the master node instance. Does anyone have any questions about actually provisioning Terraform, or want me to go over like, I don't know, how I connected a security group to this instance,
Could
or
you go
how?
over that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything's found in documentation on Terraform. So we can actually just copy over the resource that you're trying to create or whatever, or if you don't even know, you just know you need an Amazon instance, right? You can just let's just Google it. Let's just go to google.com and type in Terraform and then resource AWS instance. Okay, you don't have to give it the name or anything because that's local. But it will give you, yeah, you just go to like the registry, and it will give you all of the, let's see, where's it at? Terraform, providers, modules. It didn't take me there. This is the registry, but I want to go to Amazon instances. Okay, and so here is like the Terraform registry. so there's all sorts of different, let's see. Let me go back to the code real quick. So there's all sorts of different providers, right? There's like an AWS provider, there's like a Google provider, obviously there's like an Oracle provider, right? And so that each provider holds different data for like the Terraform, right? They're all kind of like different syntactically, right? AWS instance, that is a specific resource to the AWS provider. Okay, so we can actually go back here. And so like, say if you wanted to spin up an instance, this is the basics of what you need, right? This is the requirements. You need an AMI and you need an instance type. That is it. So by default, you're thinking, what about the VPC, right? Where's this subnet? And so by default, it will go to the default VPC and subnet. You can specify VPC on here. So if you actually just VPC, oh, okay, you could specify the subnet declaration produce similar responsibility subnet provisioner. It should say all of the, so it doesn't on this one. So typically it would tell you all of the attributes that follow in your resource. So let's go to another registry. AWS. Okay, I don't feel like digging through that. So data, where's EC2 Terraform settings, state import. Anyway, but you can find the documentation through like the registry. In one of these. Let's see if we can find the right one for you guys. Data sources, providers, variables and outputs, modules, expressions, functions, Terraform settings, state. Oh, it just said resource. My bad. Did I not put AWS instance in there? I don't think so. That's fine. Okay, no, that's Stack Overflow. I want that. I want the registry. Stack Overflow. There we go. This should be fine. And then that's the data block, so we don't want that. Here we go. So AWS instance, you can see it has an AMI and an instance type. And the tags would be the name, right? Because AWS, you don't actually name the resource. It goes off its tag. So if you go to the console, that would be the name of it. And a tag. But you can read about all the different the attributes down here, stuff that's required. So you can read about the AMI. I guess it is optional. I thought it was required. So learn something new, right? By reading all the documentation. But typically you would want the AMI, a tag of the name, your instance type. But anyways, the big thing to take away is that it does default to the default VPC and subnet for an instance anyway. But yeah, you can fill in all these details like the instance type, T2 micro, AMI, and anything you would think that an instance would need. And then the security group is a different kind of resource, right? And so if we actually Google that on that documentation, the security, you need a list for it. So let's go read about it. That's not the one I want. Okay, so it is optional, VPCs only, list of security group IDs to associate with it. So you can see all the attributes. Yeah, I guess you could search for like security groups and then, but that would be the key that would be the attribute that you would need to connect your security group. So obviously, you could add multiple security groups if you want. You would just add it into a list, right? A list of strings. Okay. And so I have a list of my security group that I have created, and then .name, which is what I named it, and then .id, right? So resource, whatever it is, and then the name, and then .id is like a hidden attribute that you have. So if we scroll down to my security group, here it is. So I'm creating a resource of AWS security group with the name of node security group. I'm giving you the name right here. So don't confuse like this resource name with your attribute name. Your attribute name or your tag name. This is an instance, so it's a little different. You have to figure out or read the documentation to know what attribute does what. But for security groups, the name is just simply the name that you'll see in the console. And then this name is how you would access the resource in the Terraform. So it's more of a local thing versus this attribute name would be the console resource name. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then I have all my ingress rules and my egress rules, right? So port 22, TCP, and then from 00. But you can read about, if you want to define that, more about the security groups. So in Terraform, it's really all just going to come down to reading documentation. It's exactly what's going to happen. Because you're not going to remember all these Terraform resources and all their attributes, right? You're just going to have to Google Terraform and then the resource or the data block or whatever you're trying to learn more about. And you just have to go through the registry and read all about it. Yeah, so just part of a software engineering role is that you're just going to read a lot of documentation. So ingress and egress correspondingly. Okay. So any questions on how I'm connecting a security group to my instances? I have 3 instances that I'm creating here. I've got a master node, so my one instance, right, which is the control one. You can think of that as like the parent instance or parent server. And then I'm creating 2 children servers or nodes or instances, whatever you want to call them. They all have the same image. They're all using the same SSH key file. They're all going to be T2 micros, and I just have their names marked accordingly. Node 1, node 2, and master node up here. And they're all sharing the same security group as well. Is everyone following? Does that make sense? How to create these resources, what it defaults to, and how to look up any kind of resource attribute in the documentation. Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. I know Terraform can be, there's kind of a lot, and we're kind of making you guys drink from like a fire hose. But yeah, if I do lose you guys or something doesn't make sense, like, hey, like, why is this AWS key and not AWS key PEM? Or something silly or something you guys just don't understand, just let me know, please, so I can explain it. That would be great. So, right. So we covered, I don't know, a few classes ago about like Terraform commands. And so I've already done a Terraform init, which initializes like all the base files for Terraform. And you have to do that for your directory for Terraform to take those Terraform state files and run them against like the state that's actually existing in the console. So I've already done that, so I don't need to do that right now. So the next thing to do would be a Terraform plan, right? Let's see what we're actually creating. Oh, looks like I had an issue there and it caught it. I had that for each statement that was left there by accident. So
Reason
yes.
Yeah, before You keep going on to that part. Another like dumb question, but for like the images of the children, or for like the instances, or just the children themselves, the nodes, are you always only using the children just to create copies from your master, or is there a time where like you would have different configurations for the children?
Yeah, it's situation dependent, but yeah, I'm just doing it for simplicity's sake. I'm just keeping them all Amazon Linux 2 images. But if you wanted to do Ubuntu or whatever servers you want, like whatever images, AMIs, then by all means do whatever image you want. They by no means, shape, or form do they have to all be the same image.
Got it. What's the like main point of having them fall under a master node?
Correct. So it's really like an Ansible thing, right? So you're gonna have like you can think of it as like two different layers, right? You want one like control node or like a command center to tell multiple, like a fleet, like multiple different servers what to do. So instead of okay, before, instead of going to like, say you have like 10 servers, like you have a fleet of servers, instead of going to like each individual server and installing Apache or installing Ansible on it or really doing whatever, installing Python on each individual server, you would why not just have one master node, install Ansible on it, and run a playbook that tells all the child servers to go install Python, go install Java, go install Apache, and do whatever you want on the host. So it's really just a way of like commanding a fleet to do whatever you want. So, and you really only need to do that from one instance. And that's what Ansible does, is it just you allow it to SSH into the worker nodes or the worker instances, children instances, and perform a playbook, which outlines which instances and what tasks to do on what. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know it can get kind of confusing, but like when you go out to like scale, you're going to be dealing with like hundreds of servers potentially, right? And so how do we manage those servers? And excuse me, and Ansible is the tool that we use to do such. Well, is a tool. There's other tools, right? There's like Puppet and Chef, but Ansible is a fan favorite. Because the big thing is that Ansible uses like YAML, and YAML is just easy, readable language. Yes, Nika, I see you with a hand emoji.
The others that you just stated, are we going to be learning those? Okay, never mind. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't mean to confuse you guys by bringing up stuff that you're not going to be learning. But just know that there is other packages out there instead of Ansible. Chef being one of them is another popular one. But just I think Ansible is about the best one for like instance management or like instance fleet management, right? Yes, but yeah, good question, Nika. Okay, so where were we? So we have our Terraform, and we're creating a master node and two children node and a security group, and they're all sharing it. Okay. So if we don't have any more questions there, we can go ahead and run a Terraform plan. Local, am I doing, where's that line 41? I probably left something. Yep, I'm not using locals anymore. So good catch, Terraform, and let's run a Terraform plan again. So we should just get 4 resources, right? And we can kind of extend this and go through the Terraform plan, right? It's comparing our current state in the console to what our code is based on like these Terraform state files, right? So it's just telling you all your goodies. about what's being created. Plus sign is being is like creating. A minus sign would be deleting. And then yeah, the change one, I forgot what that was, but it has another symbol here. Yeah, I think it turns a different color, maybe like blue or something. But yeah, it'll all stay right here. Also, if you have like an output block and you run the Terraform plan, it will output it to like right here. There's nothing really to output right now, unless you just want to make like a dummy string. Actually, we can go ahead and do that right now. It's kind of used for debugging. Output, I don't know, we'll just call this test. And then you need to put it a value. And let's just call that, this is my testing output, right? And this is a testing, yeah, you can access like resources too. But for now, since there's no resources created, we can't access really any data inside them. So let's just clear this out and run another Terraform plan. And then it will show you the output right here. Here's the output. This is my testing plan. So you can debug your resources and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Okay, so since everything looks good in my plan, let's do a Terraform apply. So this is going to create the resources in our console, so we can actually see them live. So it's going to ask you, like, do you want to perform these? And yes, I do. So just type yes. And this will take a minute to spin up. So does anyone have any questions on anything really?
No, not so far.
Great. There's also another command that I know we've gone over. It's Terraform destroy. So that will pretty much just destroy every resource on here. It's not going to delete your code or anything, but it will delete them from like the Terraform state files. Right. So there's I guess that's something good to bring up that could be confusing, is that there's like Terraform state, right? You're going to have, it's like the state in the console, and then you're going to have your local state. And so it's just like, you can think of it as kind of like versions, right? And so that's what your Terraform plan does, is it compares what your version or your Terraform state on the console is versus what your state of your code is, and then it shows you the difference of it. So that's kind of state.
I had a question with state.
Yes.
So if you destroy those, it's not completely destructive. If you just do another apply, it'll just make a new state.
Yep. Yeah, so it
Okay.
will just, yeah, it'll actually tear down the resources that are in the console, but if you just do another apply, it will build those resources back up.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But just know that Terraform destroy command is very destructive. It destroys 100% of everything. So, just be careful when using it. But if you needed to delete a resource, then you would just, I don't know, delete or comment out the code. And then you would just rerun like a Terraform apply. Yeah. So since we're applying, this is going to take a little bit longer because we have these provisioners, right? We're copying over our file. We're just we're updating. So we're also updating Yum, and then we're installing Ansible on our master node through SSH. So you can actually kind of see that in the logs. Let's see. So it's still creating these nodes, and then I think it will, after once those are provisioned, it will go ahead and run our provisioners. So kind of another reason why you don't use a provisioner is it does take more time. This probably would have been done by now if it was just creating, yeah, you can see it's on the master node. Probably would have been done by now. But yeah, you can see provisioning with file. So it does take a little bit more time than if you were to just go ahead and do it yourself. But it is, I think it's pretty cool, right? You can put like your you can create like an inventory file on here, or your like a like an Ansible playbook, and then you can just use this provisioner file to just put it on your instance already, so you have it good and ready, so you don't have to go and create it again, or create it in the first place. I guess you would just already have it. So kind of a pro of using it, but typically you wouldn't do that in like a production environment. Wow, that's really taking a while, huh?
Is this normal for it to take this long with Provisioner, honestly, or
Yeah, so it's got a little bit it's got a few more steps to do. Right, it's copying the file, and then it's updating the package manager as well as installing Ansible on the master node. So it has a bit more steps to jump through. But yeah, depending on what your provisioner is doing and what kind of provisioner you're doing, they can absolutely take a little bit more time.
okay.
Yeah. Wow, it's taking a while. Like longer than I would expect. Go check out.
Because we're all watching you.
Yeah, right.
We're just getting hacked, getting DDoSed.
Let's see if it, like that's an old one. So it looks like it provisioned my master node. So let's see what it says in the console. Okay, we got a fail. File last SSH authentication handshake failed. Unable to authenticate. Why did it not authenticate? Did I? Run a Terraform plan to see what was created and what wasn't. So one to add, one to destroy. I wonder if it wants to destroy that master node and recreate it. Yeah, that's exactly what it wants to do. So I guess there's an issue with,
I have a question. It said it's tainted. If you scroll up, it
Where do you see that?
keep going.
It has an
the
ominous tone
top.
to it.
Said master node tainted.
Yeah, yeah.
sorry,
Where
where's,
master node is? No, I think that right there. AWS instance.masternode is tainted, so it must be replaced like. Ooh,
Oh, so yeah, something is wrong with it.
yeah,
Good
so,
eyes.
yeah, so something happened with master node while creating it. I am not sure what it was. But yeah, let's just run a Terraform apply, and then you can add this cool flag, auto approve, and hopefully it doesn't take long. So you can see it's destroying it. I just ran this before and it worked, so maybe there was just some kind of hiccup that happened in between.
it's probably because we're watching you. That's what it all.
Exactly.
Always.
So Reno, for your connection there for your file, you choose your local, the directory for it.
Are you talking about the private key file?
Yeah. So you choose yours there first, and then the
Yeah.
top is just where you're copying it, right?
Uh,
The source and destination. Okay.
this is where you're you know, the source of it, where the file is currently living, and then this is the destination where you want to place the copy of it.
And that's just the destination part is just for your master node to have it to then use that to be able to access the rest of them.
That is correct. Yeah, right. You just want to provide it the SSH key to be able to SSH into the children node. But we'll also so you specify this again in the inventory that we'll create here in a little bit. Once the master node is provisioned. And then that you'll specify that SSH key file to access those children nodes.
Cool. And then your connection object there is just for it to connect to the master node to begin with.
Yeah, so it needs to go into the master node, right? So you're pretty much telling this command to go into this AWS resource, and you want it to run this command of like this is it's pretty much like a module, and it's just gonna run like a touch AWS key PEM, right? And it's actually gonna do like a CP, and so it's gonna copy this file at that file path, and then it's gonna paste it at this file path and give it the name of AWS key PEM. And so the way it needs to you have to add the connection so it knows how to get into the instance itself, right? Since it's you have to SSH into the instance to be able to perform all these tasks on it. You're providing that connection info. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Great. I hope it's not tainted again. I have no idea why it tainted the first time. It shouldn't have. Let's see, is there any more details on it? Hibernation.
Didn't it also say something about SSH authentication?
Yeah. Let's see. Let's check this stuff. Scroll down so we know if it finishes or not. So master node and file Terraform. Okay, that's fine. And then, oh, where's its that I must have deleted its key name. I'm not providing it yeah, so let's you could just do like a Control-C to stop that command. But yeah, so when I was messing around, it looks like I deleted the key name. And so that's the key the SSH key that you're passing into the instance. And so it wasn't able to actually it wasn't able to make this connection type because the SSH key wasn't on the instance itself. So does that make sense? Why we're having that tainted issue? It wasn't able to get into the instance that it was created. So it was able to create it, but it wasn't able to use this provisioner because the connection was pointing to an SSH file that was not actually made on top of the instance itself. And I'm pretty sure that was it. So if we run a Terraform apply again, it should probably delete a master node and then recreate it with the actual key file for it. So yeah, one to add, one to destroy. And so we'll just type yes, because that's what we want to do. Yeah, good catch for whoever said an SSH thing, because you were exactly right on what that issue was. I believe, anyway. I think that's exactly what it was.
Doesn't work this time. I say it's just black magic. Burn it with fire. Redo it.
It doesn't work. I'll have the night off.
That's right.
But yeah, you should, yeah. So after it's destroying, it'll create, and then it'll run its provisioners of making the file and then installing Ansible. And we'll see that in the logs here. Hopefully soon, fingers crossed. So you can see it, it was, the master node was created and it is now provisioning the file. And then you can see provisioning with remote exec and it's running, the update. You can see it like remote exec right here, right? And so it's running through these commands. So pretty cool, right? And then once this is up, we'll just SSH into it and we'll start with our Ansible stuff. Since we're actually installing Ansible on the control node or the master node. Cool, awesome, it is complete. There we go. And so let's actually go over to our console and let's give this a good old refresh. It's probably going to be a bunch of terminated master nodes on here. Okay, where's our running one? So let's just type running master node and let's just go to connect and we're going to chmod that, which just gives our key file access. And then we're going to copy this command, which will allow us to SSH into our master node. And yes, since this is our first time, cool. So we are in our master node now. So does anyone, so I guess the way we can check to see if this file provisioner and this remote exec work is we can just check to see if our file AWS keypam exists. So let's run an ls command on our instance and it does. So we can actually cat it so we can see the output of it. And you can see that our key does come back. And so this provisioner was successful on copying our key file over. So we could also check to see if Ansible was installed, right? So we can do, was it Ansible -- version, I believe. And it was installed, right? And so if we SSH'd into our children node over here, they would not come with Ansible, even though they were provisioned with the same Amazon Linux 2 image. Does that make sense how we did that?
Yes. I mean, it's basically what we would have done manually, but it's automated.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just doing it with Terraform. You could do it with Ansible too, but it's just kind of part of the lesson was showing another feature of Terraform with provisioners. So pretty cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and create an Ansible inventory. So let's just do a VI inventory right? And let's just go ahead and let's create a role of managed. No, actually, let's just do, I don't know. We could do like a node 1. And then we can add, let's go back to this and actually, let's go back to my old lesson and just copy those over, not YAML basics, but I just wanted to copy pretty much this over. Okay, so let's go ahead and paste that in there. And then just copy this over and let's create another group and we're just going to call that node 2. Okay, and we're just going to, for bars, we're just going to call it all. Do you guys remember how to use like variables in your inventory? You're just going to use like the your group name and then with a colon and then vars, and then this will apply to whatever group is in there. And then all is like a built-in keyword that will apply to both groups. So, and this is really, I just wanted to do my my AWS my key file. I think you guys with Julius did it with like a SSS or SSH keygen yesterday, but I much prefer just doing it with how we've all kind of been doing it earlier, and just creating like a key pair. So we copied it over AWS key PEM. And let's update these. So that's node 2. We need to add our node 2 and node 1 IPs to it. So let's go back to the console and copy those over. Node 1 is running, and let's copy that. Okay, let's go up to node 1. So you can either do like host name or your IP for your instances. Oops, I did a dash. Host equals and then your IP, or you can do, yeah. So, but for this, we're just assigning aliases, right? Which is this, you're pretty much just assigning like a name of like node 1, node 2, and then these are different groups. You can really name them whatever, but just for simplicity, we'll just go like role node 1 and role of node 2. So let's go ahead and grab this node 2 IP. Cool, we got it. And so let's go and plug it in. And then our Ansible user is EC2 user. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good inventory to me. Does anyone have any questions on Ansible inventories? You're pretty much just assigning it only in the master node, and you're just outlining what are its children nodes. And you're categorizing them into different roles or groups. And you can do like various stuff on them, right? And then the vars is just you're passing it, like how are you connecting with it? And you're obviously going to connect with SSH, and so you're just passing its the SSH file to it. So it's going to refer to, since it's an everything variable, it's going to pass this this SSH key to each of my nodes in my inventory to every group. Any questions? Nika, I see you with the hand up.
So you said that you would rather just basically point when, like at the bottom for the aws-key.pem, that you would rather just point it instead of just doing the generation. Why? Is it because it's less steps? Is it? I was just curious.
It's just a preference. Both ways are correct. You can do it either way. Whatever way you feel comfortable. If you feel like you are more comfortable with how Julius did it yesterday with the key gen, doing like what did you use, like open SSH, and doing it that way, by all means do it. But I feel more comfortable doing it with this key pair. You know, the same key pair that I use to SSH into like the master node. So both ways are good. Both ways work. It's whatever you feel comfortable getting connection to your nodes.
Okay, I like this way better, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, me too. So it's yeah. Okay, so I will press the escape to exit out of insert mode, and then WQ to save and quit it. And so we could actually run, let's just check to see if that works, right? So we can do an Ansible and then -m for module. Ansible comes with like a bunch of different modules, like I said last lesson, right? You can run Docker modules, you can run like a ping module, all sorts of different modules. You can Google it, like Ansible modules, and you'll just get like a plethora of them, right? So in this case, we're going to be using the ping module, and then you need to specify the inventory, right? Which is like it's not like your Ansible config, it's like, you know, the thing we just made that is pointing to all your children node from your master node. Okay, so we'll just type that in. Oh, actually, I forgot one thing. I need to specify what node I'm working with. So if I wanted to do like node 1, I can ping node 1. It's the first time, so you're always going to get like a, actually, oh, I need to chmod 400 the AWS key, right? We need permissions for that.
Oh, I think we're missing an N in inventory.
No, I made it. I think yeah, inventory. I just kind of misspelled it. That's fine. Yeah, let me chmod 400 that AWS key real quick. And then we will Ansible all module ping dash I inventory. Okay, and our ping was successful. It's asking for the yes for the node, and so you can tell that we are successfully pinging both our nodes. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create a playbook to just run. So if I mean, you could do the same thing. Instead of doing like an all command, you can run like individual roles or individual aliases to access those different nodes, right? It's just a way to separate your control over the nodes. So let's go ahead and clear that out and just create a playbook. You can really call this anything. Let's just call it VI. We're just wanting to write to a playbook.yaml. All playbooks are written in YAML. Okay, and so let's actually just go over and copy a playbook because I feel like copying a playbook. I don't feel like writing a new one. So let's copy over yesterday's playbook. Let's go see what Julius used for a playbook. Oh, okay, cool. So it looks like he's just doing a hello world, and he's specifying the host of all. So let's copy this over, but let's go a little bit more in depth with it. Okay, so instead of doing all the nodes, it's I for insert mode. Instead of all, let's just do node 1, and then our message, hello world, let's just do hello from node 1. Okay, and then let's actually just copy this whole thing over. And let's make another one, right? You can have multiple things. Hello world example, let's do hello node 2. We can change that host over to node 2. And then let's change out this message. Oops, hello from node 2. And then, oh, we change the name of this to hello node 1. And you know what, just for demonstration purposes, let's go ahead and create another one that will use the all, right? So let's go back and oops. And let's do hello from all nodes under control node. Okay. And then we can change our host to all. And then hello all. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on this playbook? It's a simple one, but there's 3 steps to it.
Now I'm following.
Great, awesome. I loved hearing that. So we'll escape out of insert mode. We'll do a colon and a WQ to save and quit it. And let's what was the command? I think it's Ansible dash playbook, and then you still need to pass it the dash I inventory, and then the name of the playbook, which is just playbook.yaml. Cool. So awesome. So you can kind of see, let's expand this a little bit, right? So print hello message. So message from hello from node 1, and then hello from node 2. And then for all, you have the node 1 saying hello from all, and then our node 2 saying hello from all. So that's kind of how you can use an Ansible playbook to you could do all sorts of different stuff in an Ansible playbook, right? You can have it like install Apache or install whatever, but you really only need to install Apache on, Ansible on the control node or the master node, the top level node. And then just put in like its SSH key file or however you're connecting to your children nodes, or servers, and just telling them what to do. So I think that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, another thing that you could do if you get tired of running like the -I and then inventory or whatever. Oops. Oh, what was that? Let's Control C at that. I don't know what happened there. Must have clicked something. But if you get tired of doing like the -I and inventory, I think you can just go ahead and create like an Ansible .config config file. And then this is kind of like it just overwrites your current config file. And so let's just go, we're in insert mode, and you can go defaults. And then under that, you can just set inventory equal to inventory. And then you can just go ahead and escape, and then WQ, and then you can run, and then that will just set your inventory to like like your inventory file, so you don't have to specify that flag. You do like a Ansible dash, I don't know, you just do all dash m ping. Oh, no provider host. Oh, I did spell it wrong. So vi Ansible. Oops. Yeah, I I spelled my original inventory wrong, but without an N. So let's go ahead and fix that, and so I can point to the right file. I wonder if I actually have to put like a .yaml after it or not. But let's go ahead and test that. Yep, there we go. So you don't have to specify the .yaml. Or I'm sorry, actually there was no file extension, so we're good. So you don't actually need that for an inventory. It's really just like a text file. But as you can see, I didn't run the -I whatever inventory. And so it picked it up from my my overridden Ansible config file that we just created. Does anyone have questions on the Ansible config? Overriding it. You don't need to do it. It's just kind of like a cool trick, cool thing to know that you can override like configs and stuff like that.
That's very helpful.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I think with that being said, I think we can go ahead and stop this recording.